He's proven it can happen.
Michael Tellinger.
That's it.
And they call it, I think he calls it one small town.
Yeah.
So one small town at a time.
Yeah.
To kind of turn. So but with the conversation with the coast about if every small town or every little small community, like town or village, whatever, started to create its own wealth, and that wealth stayed in there, they're creating far more than they ever could need. Because you think about it, with or without money, we're all doing things for each other.
He wants a cashless society, doesn't he? But he's coming to the UK, if you're interested. August Bank Holiday weekend.
Yes.
I can't make it.
Yeah, shame. I'm going. I think I am.
Yeah.
So it's, maybe
I'll do it, fella.
What?
I don't know, do something live from there or something.
Oh, okay.
Take it with you. You two do something, report back. I'll go to that.
Oh, no, I'd love to hear about
But
that.
would you say that so go back, because what I've been so picked up on that's actually quite interesting is that your dad, right, and he was entrepreneurial.
Yes.
And so for me, a lot of entrepreneurs things don't quite work out in the schooling, or they're quite, because you said he wasn't overly pro schooling, was he? So I imagine that's a sign of being slightly. I'm going to say not resistant, but dismissive of authority at the level that I'm going to do what I want. I want to do what I'm making it up because that's how it feels for me. But so this idea of things don't have to be the way they've been presented, was that something that kind of dawned on you in 03, or was it? Do you feel like it was suppressed and then started to come back again? Because growing up with an entrepreneurial father, I imagine.
Oh, that's a really good question. So I think the answer to that, and I'm now making this up as I go along, so it's based on my feeling, but my feeling is that if you're brought up by an entrepreneur, then you are, in fact I know we are encouraged to think very laterally.
Yeah.
I think one of the books I was given for Christmas was In Success Find Failure and Failure Find Success, and that was very much part of my father's mantra, but that word, think laterally, was a large part of the vocabulary of my childhood. So it was there. It almost certainly did get suppressed because I went through the full extent of the education system. So, right through school, university, postgraduate. So, that doesn't really encourage or kind of like is kind of learn this, chew it and spit it back out. Add a little bit of your own spice to it, but it's not really a huge amount of lateral thinking in that system. So
and generally, they ridicule the whole personal development movement, or out of the because we talk about
sweeping statement.
But if you go high up in any academic circles, it becomes narrower and narrower and narrower. So if you start, so why there not any? I don't think actually it is. I think that's partly the problem of academia. Is it becomes more and more mainstream thinking because you get funded by corporations, you get what they call tenure. So if you start talking outside the mainstream, you lose your job, you lose your pension, you get ridiculed. So a lot of this stuff has gone off with the internet now. A lot of it's gone out of mainstream, and people are doing things outside of it and creating content and talking about these things.
It was interesting you mentioned the internet there, but I think that's a great medium now for exploring, because there wasn't really, if you think of that system I've just talked about, I didn't have any choices around that. The internet didn't exist, and
if you love learning,
if you love learning and you want to be a good boy and you want to kind of please your parents and be part of society, then you do go down that. You get channeled down that path. I have no regrets going down that path, but it definitely. I think there are parts of academia which do encourage lateral thinking, but the one I went down, definitely not. I think in 2003 it was kind of like that was a bit of an aha moment, and it was both. I think all these aha moments, isn't it? Is it adversity is the mother of all invention? Yeah. And I think that's exactly where I got to was. I was so miserable. Yeah. I was trying to think of a way out of it, and that's when the lateral thinking really does kick in, doesn't it?
I did that a little bit when I had a job that I really didn't like. The lateral thinking, how do I get out? I know, pregnant. I had maternity leave, thank you very much. And then while I had maternity leave, it's a bit drastic, isn't it? While I had maternity leave, I was like, there's no way am I going back.
We don't have that option.
No, it's a shame, isn't it? It's quite great being a woman.
So, but at the time, you've gone through formal education. Was that by? See, my dad never really encouraged me to go to. He's like, if you want to go, go. If you don't, personally, I recommend you get into business because you can do what you want. You don't have to be beholden to anybody else shaping your life for you in the same way. But you went through that. But when did that? It was a career at the time. Obviously, you just mentioned you met the person that came up with mortgage-backed securities, right?
Yeah.
So what were you actually doing at that time?
Well, to answer that question, rewind a little bit. Okay. So, my father's an entrepreneur, and the reason I went down the academic route, it was my ticket out of the situation I found myself in. I had to get out of. We don't have enough time to go into that now, but I needed academia to get out of that situation. I realised that I went bumbling way through school, and I was happy-go-lucky, and I was in A to D. I was in a C set for most of my life, and then I suddenly got to when it came to GCSE, or all levels as they were in Scotland then, and then the highest, and I was kind of like, oh, this is crunch time. This is do or die. And I remember thinking about it, going, oh wow, if I don't perform here, I'm stuck. I'm really, really stuck here. So, which when you look at it now, is a terrible way of thinking. But that was, as a 15 or 16-year-old, that's how I saw the world. So I surprised everyone, including myself. When I put my head down and focused on it, I could actually, and so that took me back down the academic route, and then.
But what was the subject?
And then I was going to join my father's business, and then and we were looking at where I was in Scotland, and we thought the best training that was around at the time was chartered accountancy. And there's two reasons for doing that. One was that it was a fallback position, and then I could go and join the family business later on.
What was the family business?
Foundry.
Foundry?
Yeah. So
what, in Scotland?
Yeah. So
is it still going?
Yeah, so my
you see where I'm going with this,
well, no, of course it's not. There's no foundries left in this country. They're all in China. But my family, my father and his grandfather are all from Sheffield. So that's where the foundry of the steel. So, if you want to get on in life in Sheffield, you were going to probably go down that. You're probably going to go down that route. So the Academy of Accountancy was, and the other thing I found out was that was also a ticket back to Japan. So
financial
was, yes, because we kind of skipped this part, but I went out to Japan as part of a youthful adventure when I graduated, and I was age 22. There was a recession. It was 1992. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I'd applied for about 3 jobs. I thought, this is a complete waste of time. Why on earth am I doing this? And again, a bit of lateral thinking. So someone said,
how am I going to get back to Japan?
well, then someone said you can do this course in Japanese, and you spend 9 months in Japan, and then you go 9 months in Scotland, 6 months in Japan. I thought, oh wow, what an opportunity! I get that qualification, and I can go and sell it off to the house bidder, and etc., etc. And then after I'd done that, I wanted to stay in Japan, and then that's when I worked out, okay. These guys, the second largest economy in the world, their accountancy qualification is awful. They've got a lot of inward investment, no one to look after those kind of investment. So if I go and I've got a fairly logical kind of numerical brain, so I can go and do that and go back to Japan. Do you know what? It worked.
Yeah.
I was literally, even before I qualified, I'd done the exams, but I hadn't got the results. I was because exactly the reasons I just mentioned.
What drew you to Japan? I mean, it's such a different culture to England, isn't it? I mean, what was it?
We're in Scotland.
Yeah, we're in Scotland. Yeah. Oh, were you in Scotland by then?
Yes, this was age of 8 we moved to Scotland.
Ah, okay.
So that's the accent.
I don't know. He sounds Japanese to me.
Well, in Scotland it's an English accent. It's Scottish, and somewhere in between is my homeland, and I'm not finding it.
So did anyone understand you in Japan? Because what's that?
Japanese
from South Africa.
Exactly. Yeah. Why Japan? Do you know what? It could have been any country. It was something completely different. And it was just timing. So much life is around timing. Someone put that in front of me. It could have been any country in the world, but it was the fact it was different and exotic.
Yes.
And in 1993, we weren't globalised economy then. I went out there. There was no internet. I got the football results in a little piece of paper this much on Monday morning of the Japan Times. And we'd communicate with people letters. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
So I had my friends. You ever talk about Andy? the reason for coming to Harvard, we were writing to each other, and he used to send me tapes in the post. The letters. It's not funny how, and the next time I went back in 1999, the internet was here, and
everything's changed.
Everything, the world had changed then, and Skype had come along.
Have you kept any of those letters?
I don't think I have actually. No.
Sorry,
it's a dying art.
Sorry, Andy.
I think it's lovely when you keep little notes and letters that people have in the past, and you look back at them 15, 20, 30 years later, and it's like you just remember that memory. It just brings it all back.
I do keep all the letters. It was when I first met my wife in 2000. So when I was back in Japan the second time, I'm skipping all over the place here.
Don't worry
people confused.
Don't worry about chronology. It's fine.
There's no chronological order to this, but and. So she was her family's from Kyoto, which is the old capital of Japan. And I remember the first time I went out back in 1993, I was working in Kyoto. I didn't, so I met her in Tokyo. But then when I went back to go and visit her parents, for the first time, meet the parents, actually it went really well. But they were very, very.
At last, we found someone to quick.
I feel ignore that.
That's what he said.
It's okay.
But when I went back to it, I thought, I recognise this place. The place I'd been working 6 years before in Kyoto was 5 minutes walk from where she lived.
Oh.
Yeah, it wasn't full circle.
Timing, isn't it? Yeah. Perfect.
And there was a reason why we got onto. Why did we get onto Akihama? Do you know what? I can't remember.
No idea. So how long were you in Japan in total then? It's quite a while, wasn't it?
15 years.
Yeah. And then, so what brought you back?
Over 3 different periods.
So I was just going to say, we started originally talking about collaboration and how it has an impact on you, and you mentioned earlier about Collabo World.
Yes. Oh, yes.
So just fill us in on that.
Yes. Well, I guess that was part of the big collaboration. Tell me again about that.
Yeah.
Because when I came back to the UK, I left Japan because basically the adventure was over. I'd been there long enough, and the job had gone nowhere. I'd done as much as I wanted to do. Got the T-shirt, travelled throughout Asia, kind of looked at you, put my best puppy eyes and said, "Do you fancy going back to the UK?"
Oh.
And as ever, she very courageously came back decided to come back.
Because for her that had meant leaving family, all her friends.
Yeah, but they'd been lived in South America, so they're quite used to travelling when she was a child. But the clever was, when I came back from Japan, I was like, right, my chance. That dream in 2003, now is my time. And at that point, when I came back in 2012, no one had really actually heard of Bitcoin. Bitcoin hadn't really hit the public consciousness. It's strange to think that now, isn't it?
It's only 6
It was, I think, around $5 or $6 per Bitcoin. So,
it's got to be at least 8 or 9.
Why didn't I start mining? Etc. etc. But yeah, you can imagine. So Bitcoin was, and then I joined so I needed a vehicle, something to help me to get this going. I had no idea what am I going to do. I've just got this idea. So there was this school for startups, which was run by an entrepreneur that used to be on Dragon's Den, and I thought, I'll take my idea to them, and they said, "Well, okay, we have no idea how to make a business out of this yet,
right.
But yeah, we'll give you all the tools around how you need to think and look at a business, and then you can go and work out how you're going to turn this into business." So I went down that route, and as part of that, my idea was to take my ideas and work with the bricks and pounds. So I was working with the bricks and pound for a while, and that company I set up was called Collabo World. And because so when you talk, what's the best way of describing it? It does what it says on the tin.
Yeah.
Collabo World. It was about collaboration. So I decided to go down that route, work with the bricks and pound, and I was well on kind of like I hit a lot of roadblocks, but I was making progress, and then my health fell off the cliff. And so unfortunately all those plans got shelved. But interestingly, while I was kind of ended up working for the School for Startups, and while I was in that, because I was helping them give advice around loans for the government scheme called Startup Loans, which is all around giving loans, because at that point there was no jobs and the banks weren't lending, so the government said, well,